Mm.
Mm.
So
So
when
when
people like you
people
come
like
out
you come
to
out to
speak,
speak,
everyone listens.
everyone listens.
And it's
And
based
it's
on the
based
fact
on
that
the
you've
fact that
had
you've
a
had
tested
a
and
tested and
tried
tried
career, and
career, and
especially being a
especially
woman,
being a
you
woman, you
started this
started
when
this
it
when
was
it
it
was
wasn't part
it
of our
wasn't part
culture
of
to
our
have
culture to have
a woman just
a
come
woman
out on
just come out
screen
on
and
screen
start
and
speaking.
start speaking.
Talk less of
Talk
for
less
people
of
to
for
stop
people to
and
stop
listen.
and listen.
Um, it's very different
It's very
today,
different today.
but just
But
let us
just
let us
let us
into how it
into
must have
how it must
felt,
have
how it
felt,
was
how it
for you
was
back
for
then,
you back then,
starting your career.
starting your career.
It was interesting, and it was certainly different. I mean, it wasn't as if my set and myself were the first women to appear on TV, because WNTV had been there, and people like Julie Coker, who was my first boss. Um, she had been on TV before in Ibadan. But what was new about what we were doing was the fact that it was a network transmission, and we were going to go live on the network. So we were going to go essentially across the country, and then it was also a news bulletin. So it was a double whammy, if you like, and it was it was definitely different. It was interesting. It was exciting, and it was fun because it was new, and it was certainly new to me. Anyway, I had never been in front of a TV camera, as it were, before then. So yeah, it was interesting.
So I know that when it comes to going on camera now, everything is almost all automated. It must have been so different then.
It was.
But let's not digress too much into the history of broadcasting and your career, because we're here to talk about presentation.
Yes.
I've thankfully been on screen now 21 years. My first appearance on screen was in 2003, and it changed my world. I got to witness presenters do their thing, and I think the first person that I came directly in contact with was Fumi Yoda, and just seeing her do her thing. I know that seeing Fumi Yoda on screen on NTA then was one of the reasons why I said, you know what, that's what I'm going to do. But the thing is, I didn't have someone to tell me what exactly presentation was. I didn't understand the difference between delivering information or ideas or telling stories. So please break it down for us. What exactly is presentation?
The thing is that a lot of people don't realize that it is a process. It is something that is deliberate. It's not something that is not ad hoc. All right. So a presentation is you use the word information. It is a process by which we deliver information within a particular time frame to a particular audience for a particular objective, but it has to go through certain processes, some scientific, some artistic, to enable us to arrive at the ultimate, which is the presentation.
Okay. So now, I was watching one of your videos, and you talked a lot about the key components that make up an effective presentation. Now, presentations of different types these days. You have stage presentations, you have business presentations, and you have the ones that we do on TV, and of course, podcasting presently becoming a huge thing. But what are the key differences? And are the ethics the same?
I think the ethics are basically the same. I think the objectives are also the same, even though you have different audiences, even though you may have different mediums and different platforms. But every presentation has an objective. There's something that the presenter wants to achieve. Otherwise, what's the point? What's the point of standing on the stage? What's the point of broadcasting? What's the point of the podcast? So I would say that the components include things like language, which will be determined by the audience that the one is speaking to. I think timing is also something that is very important. I've mentioned the word objective. I think structure is also important. Some people think that you just pick up the microphone and start talking. I don't believe in talking just for the sake of it. Well, maybe in an informal setting, if you don't have anything else to do. But if you actually have a message you want to get across, then it has to be, I think, something that is structured and within a particular time frame. Of course, content is also important. That is equally determined by the audience that you're trying to reach.
So now audiences vary when it comes to location, age group, of course, the objective of the presentation itself. But as you said, I think the ethics sort of remain the same. You mentioned something on one of your videos about confidence, exuding confidence. And I think this is a very key aspect of presentation, because we have made it a lot about eloquence. We've made it about how we speak, our diction. But the demeanor, the person's poise, charisma, how does this come to play?
It's very important, actually, because there is a word that is key when it comes to presentations, and that word is credibility. Something has to push you to become a credible individual, a credible and believable outcome of the presentation itself, even a credible vehicle through which the presentation is delivered. And I think confidence is very, very key. If you're not confident within yourself, if you're not sure of what you're doing, if you're not sure of why you're doing it, if you're not sure of who you're doing it for, and what you want to achieve at the end of it, some might succeed, but the majority, I don't think, will get the best result, because without knowing those key things, without knowing your why, then really you will not be confident. Even if you are nervous, sometimes the why is so big that it completely what's the right word now? It completely overshadows the nervousness.
Okay.
And the nervousness can come back when you finish saying what you want to say. But it becomes so important to get across that message that for that particular point in time, the nerves cease.
I was also going to ask you if you still get butterflies yourself, because after doing it for so long, what were your methods, your strategies for getting rid of butterflies before starting a presentation?
First of all, let me say that if you don't have butterflies, if you never have butterflies, then something is wrong. Because it is those butterflies that actually keep you on your toes. It's those butterflies that make you understand that you are about to go into a different kind of mode, a performance mode. You are ready to meet your audience. You want to connect with them. So those little butterflies and flutterbys actually help. They really help you. What did I do? I think what comes to me really is that I had a routine, especially for live presentations. I would go through, I would imagine the entire event. I would imagine it in my mind, and I would see myself doing certain things, saying certain things, because I always had a script. I am not one that I was trained. That's the way I was trained, that you must have a script. There must be, a guide. So with that in mind, I was almost able to picture the entire event. I mean, we know that some things happen once in a while that may derail you from your main script. However, you usually sure that this is, especially formal events, this is the way it's going to move. So I was quiet. I would get dressed. I usually didn't want people to talk to me. I just wanted to be on my own, and just going through it in my mind. And because I had written it, I was aware of what I wanted to say and why I was saying it. And so those are the kind of things that stilled my mind. And of course, before reading the news, the script is there. You've gone through the script, so it's the same thing. But just those few seconds before they say action, you have those little flutterbys.
Okay.
Or butterflies.
I have to say, in this day and age, with podcasting becoming such a rave, such a craze now, being scripted is considered, what is the term, old school or outdated. However, I actually really love having some what do they call them again? Well, just little post-it notes, something around me that I can read from. I also have cue cards that I take on stage, but not everybody is like that anymore, and that takes me to my next area. It's this issue of mistakes. One of the key mistakes, in my opinion, is lack of preparation. But I know that there are probably a few other key mistakes you've probably noted over the years, since you're watching all of us on screen now after having done it for so long.
Well, let's look at two different kinds of presentations. You're talking about mistakes. Let's look at a news bulletin. All right. Or let's look at material that has been scripted and written, and the presenter is expected to read it. So one of the mistakes that I think I've noticed over the years is the fact that people don't take pauses in the right places. The thing about reading aloud is that you don't have or rather you have only one opportunity. You can't read it and then make a mistake and then go back and read it again, so that your viewer or listener can understand. It's instant. So you have to do things that will enable that particular material to be understood as it's heard. And one of the key things is the utilization of pause. So people pause in the wrong places. And when you pause in the wrong place, apart from the fact that it interrupts the flow of your breathing, it also interrupts the comprehension on the other side by the person who is viewing or listening. It changes the meaning many a time of the sentence or the message that the sentence is supposed to convey. So pauses would be one major thing when it comes to reading aloud. Yes, when it comes to mistakes. Live, I would say that because people perhaps don't prepare quite enough, there are things that are said off the cuff that are inappropriate. You have to look at your audience and know the kind of aside comment. Aside comment, however, you're saying it as a fully frontal statement. All right, you have to be careful about what you say, and if you have not prepared enough, if you're not sure of the kind of audience that you have, sometimes you say things, and if you're sensitive, you will pick up from people's faces, even from some of their body language, that they're not quite comfortable with what you have said. And you said it because maybe there was a space, maybe there was dead air, as we call it in broadcasting, and you felt that as a live presenter that there shouldn't be any silences. There's nothing wrong with silence. Don't fill the silence with inane comments that don't make sense.
So in other words, if you don't have anything to say, keep quiet.
Zip it. Zip it. Yeah.
So there are those. I think the term is pregnant pauses that they say that there's a lot of messages that go into those silences. But it does feel like there are a lot of people, especially young people today, that are talking a lot. We're talking and talking and talking, and we're talking more than ever before, which is enlightening. It's encouraging. It's actually exciting because there's some conversations that are happening now, especially in the social media space, that have never been had before. And people are taking advantage of the freedom of speech, the freedom of Instagram, Twitter, all the platforms that are giving you a voice. Everybody feels like they are a broadcaster now. But I want to hear your opinion on this. Is everybody online? Can they be considered a broadcaster? Are they doing proper presentations? And how do you think we can remedy this?
I'm not sure that you can remedy it because it's a platform where people really can say whatever they like. But then there is this saying that with freedom comes responsibility. So I think that people have to be personally responsible for what they say. I'm not sure that anybody right now is holding anybody accountable as such, until, of course, you start getting legal action if such should come up. But generally, I like the idea that people are free to say basically what they want. But I think that there should be some limits. There should be a bit of constraint, because a lot of people are being misled. In as much as information is easily available, readily available, and that's fine. And in as much as some of those uncomfortable conversations that have never been had before are now easily out there, and probably is beneficial to many people, because a lot of people learn that way. But then let us also be responsible, personally responsible for the things that we say, so that we really don't mislead, especially the younger ones.
I've also noted that right now people are getting information out there by storytelling, and I've noted over the years working. So I've been on Wake Up Nigeria now since 2017, and that is, for those that don't know, Wake Up Nigeria is the number one breakfast show in the country. Even if I do say so myself. And it is on TVC from 7 a.m. till 9 a.m. every morning. That's Monday through Friday. And being on air every single, like literally every day, has taught me a few things. And I feel like I'm still learning. But I've noted that storytelling has started to play a major role, because it feels as though people remember more of the stories they hear, as opposed to us trying to sell them something. People going on air now almost always have something they're trying to sell. But tell a good story and people will remember it. Let's talk about the role of storytelling and how that is impactful for presentation.
It is, because you use the word, and that word is memorable. If you are going to go to the trouble of putting a presentation together, the idea is that people should remember it after the presentation, has ended. Otherwise, again, what is the point of making the effort? So that aspect of storytelling is not new, actually. It's just that I think people forgot that it's part of our history, it's part of our culture, it's part of the folklore. The idea of folklore is what was used in the past to pass messages across, especially to children. So storytelling, I think, is very, very important. But even with storytelling, there is a structure to it. You can't tell a story that doesn't have a beginning, it doesn't have a middle, and it doesn't have an end. You know, you can't tell a story that doesn't have major characters in it. So the story has to be relevant, it has to be memorable, and it has to be applicable to the particular subject or topic or content that is on the table. So it is useful. Drama has always been useful. The idea of suspense, you know, is also part of drama and storytelling. But I think there is an art to it. I think there is also a science to it, and I think people have to learn how to do it so that it is as effective as it can be and impactful too.
So I'm that keyword they learn. It does feel like some people are good storytellers. However, as a presenter, one of the things we are taught early on is being objective. We are supposed to stay on the fine line in the middle. You're supposed to see both sides of the story. Being a presenter, making proper presentation, in many cases now, with the shows that are trending or you know getting the most viewership presently are those that have opinions. So where do you stand on this? Where presenters were supposed to be objective, but everyone is becoming opinionated and they're getting accolades for it. So what do we do?
I think that we need to go back to the drawing board and determine and go back to the drawing board as producers, as people who are conceptualizing a program, whether it's radio or TV or podcast. What is the objective of that program? Because you see, you can't use the same kind of approach, the same kind of attitude, the same kind of persona for every program. So if the idea of this program is that we are to be confrontational, then by all means, be as opinionated, be as biased, be as whatever that you need to be for you to ensure that the result is one of confrontation. However, if it is the kind of program that is supposed to be something objective, maybe a light-hearted, even if it's not light-hearted, but a program where you want to balance every side, you want to hear all sides of the story, then your opinion is the least important thing in that program. You know, the viewer is not interested in your opinion. Well, okay, if it is just you, then perhaps that is the type of program. So maybe we want to know your opinion. But if you invite guests onto a program, then what's the point of having them there if all that's going to happen is that we are going to hear your opinion? It is the opinion, the knowledge, the experience, the attitude, the perspective, perception of the guest that is important. And when you are choosing the guests, you choose them in such a way that you are pretty sure that you're going to get A side of the story and B side of the story through allowing your guests to say what they have to say.
Now, being loose-lipped hasn't really been our culture until recently. Now, when I say loose-lipped, what is that term again? Loose-lipped? Is that how they say it?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure how it's said. I don't know if that is the way it's said. It's probably Shakespeare. I don't know. But I'm thinking about how openly opinionated people are these days on screen, and the impact it's going to have on the industry, especially when it comes to being Nigerian. And
and
obviously we've
obviously
had the
we've had the
opportunity
opportunity
to
to
we've been given the
we've been given
opportunity
the
to speak,
opportunity to speak,
to come out on
to come out
screen
on
as much as
screen
we
as much
can,
as we can,
and we've been given
and
all
we've
the
been given
tools
all the
now. We even
tools
have
now. We even
visual
have
aids, we even
visual
have
aids, we even have
AI
AI
that is used
that
to
is
enhance
used to
our
enhance our
presentations now. But
presentations now. But
how far do you
how
think we
far do you
should be
think we
going
should be going
to turn some things
turn
around?
some things around?
A lot of
A lot of
countries around the
countries
world
around
also
the
have
world
these
also
same
have these same
opportunities, but
opportunities,
what
but
they are
what they are
presenting to the rest
presenting
of the
to
world
the
to
rest of the
see
world to
is
see
mostly
is mostly
positive
positive
parts of
parts
their country, of their
of
communities,
their
of their
communities, of their
societies.
societies.
But what we are
But what we are
presenting
presenting
now
now
just seems to
just seems to
almost
almost
always be
always be
on the
on
negative.
the
What
negative.
do you think we can
What do you
do
think
about
we can
this?
do about this?
Well, they say
Well,
that
they say that
bad news
bad news
sells.
sells.
Um,
Uh,
but
but
I think we
I
have to
think we
be
have
a
to be
bit
a bit
more.
more.
I think we have to
I
be a
think we
bit
have to be a
more
bit more
patriotic.
patriotic.
I think we have
I
to be
think
a bit more idealistic, if you like, um, and definitely more positive. I think it's important for us to we can't get away from certain things. You cannot pretend that some
some
houses that
houses
there has
that
been
there has been
a heavy rain
temporary.
and some houses are underwater. There's no
Mm,
way that you can pretend that has not
it's
happened.
mm,
However,
However,
as we are
as we are
seeing
seeing
this
this
devastation, if I can
devastation,
use
if I
that
can
word,
use that word,
perhaps there's also some kind of human interest story. Perhaps there's some kind of human angle story that
mm,
has emanated from this devastation. Maybe somebody went beyond the regular call of duty to ensure
mm,
that they were able to save somebody or save something that was important to somebody, or ran some distance to rally people around to come and help. There are different ways of presenting certain situations. So perhaps we should be looking more at solutions,
mm,
solutions journalism. I agree that the rain fell. I agree that there was a flood. And I agree that people lost property. But there could be a saving grace. There could be something that we could take out of it. There could even have been maybe some kind of community action that
that
resulted from
resulted
this
from this
situation
situation
to ensure
to
that
ensure
such
that
a
such a
situation
situation
doesn't happen
doesn't
again.
happen again.
That is
mm.
also
That is also
news.
new.
True.
That is also
True.
news.
Yes.
So sometimes when
Sometimes
people
when
go out, when reporters go
reporters
out
go
to
to
report on certain events, perhaps it is time for us to begin to look for some of the good inside,
inside,
the
the
whole
whole
tragic
tragic
situation that
Situation
is
that
unfolding. Yes, unfolding before us. I think I think it's important for us to look at the positives as well as the negatives, because in everyday life, everything cannot be 100% negative. It's not possible.
mm.
So I
We
think maybe
Nigerians,
it's the mindset.
mindset.
it is, but
It is.
we
But
have
we
been,
have been,
tagged. Nigerians have been
Nigerians
tagged
have
some
been
of the,
tagged some of
people that
the
almost
people that
always
almost
find
always
humor
find
in
humor in
everything. In almost
everything.
The
every
In almost
happiest
every
situation,
people.
situation,
there's
there's
something to laugh
something to
about,
laugh
something to
about,
chuckle
something to
about.
chuckle about.
Even though it's not
Even
funny,
though
we
it's not
find a way
funny,
to
we
laugh.
find a way to laugh.
Mm.
And
And
I
I
feel like,
feel like
well, a lot of it
well,
has
a
to
lot of
do
it
with,
has to do with
these days, a lot of it
these
has to
days. A
do
lot of
with
it has to do with
clickbait,
clickbait,
engagement. So
engagement.
engagement
So
now
engagement
isn't
now
really
isn't
you
really
having
you having
conversations like the way we
conversations
are
like the way
now.
we are now.
It's more
It's
of
more of
who liked
who
that
liked
video,
that
who
video, who
clicked on it, who
clicked on it, who
commented on it,
commented on
who's
it,
on this
who's on
live
this
now.
live now.
Um,
Um,
those are the things people
those
are
are the
looking
things
out
people are
for,
looking
which I
out for,
think
which
is
I think
possibly
is
why
possibly
people
why
are just,
people are just
hammering on the
hammering on the
negatives, because they
negatives,
seem to
because they seem
almost
to
always get
almost always get
responses.
responses.
So
So
Mm.
it's now
it's
become
now
about the
become about the
responses.
responses.
Why should,
Why
or
should
how
or
should
how
we,
should we
or can we
or can
get
we
our
get
audience
our audience
engaged
engaged
without looking
without
to those
looking to those
negatives all the time?
negatives all the time?
What sort of other engagement techniques can we add to our presentation?
Well, before we get to the technique, I think we have to look inwards. We have to look at ourselves. We cannot be in the frame of mind where a ghastly accident is taking place and all we're thinking of is focusing our devices on the things that are happening on the road. Nobody is thinking about helping. Nobody is thinking about calling the agencies in that can do something. What you're thinking about is how you can video it, how you can photograph it, how you can record it. So something is it is not the device that has the problem. I think we have the problem, and we have to look at ourselves. We have to think about the way we see life. What is really more important? Where is our humanity? Where is our empathy? It seems to have it seems to be withering. I don't think that's the right word. It's wilting, it's melting, it's disappearing. It is also deteriorating. Yes. So we need to look inwards, because the results that you are looking for is not going to happen. It will not happen unless something clicks in our brains that tells us that, yes, we can record this, but we also have got to do something to help.
So now the strategy from your experience for keeping audiences engaged have a lot to do with the type of content that we're putting out there. And you've already mentioned that you are mostly scripted. And of course, news is news. It's already there before you get on screen. But how do we keep audiences engaged in a more professional manner?
When you look at live events, I think that as a presenter or an MC or compare, whatever term you want to use, I think you have to be current. You have to know what is going on around you, because there are always times when there are lapses in the program, and there are things that people say, things that people do, that if you are current, they will trigger off in your mind certain other things that are happening. So sometimes, yes, you have a formal lineup of what the program is going to be, but sometimes it is those offsides, those little inputs that are unexpected, that make an audience warm up towards you. It could be a joke, but not everybody tells jokes well. You know, some people are very, very poor joke tellers. And so if you're in that category, I advise you, don't try it. But then there are instances, there are experiences that one has in one's personal life. There are observations that you make, which do not stand as jokes, but which have their own type of humor, and this is what sometimes connects you to your audience. I think also talking directly to them, maybe sometimes even mentioning the name of somebody in the audience beyond the usual recognition. You know, something happens, it triggers off a memory, and you remember that somebody in the audience either said something about it or did something about it, and you just, refer to them or ask them a question directly that they're not expecting. There are a lot of little things that you can do that you can engage your audience. Sometimes you actually even have to do a little bit of acting. You may find a situation that is a bit static, a bit boring. You have to come up with something that would just add a little bit of life, a little bit of flavor, into your presentation. Just as when you're cooking, you add spices here and there. So the presentation also needs to be spiced up.
I like the idea of spicing some things up. I'm just a little concerned about body language, because we have some amazing presenters out there who are, they become household names, and when they became household names, it was because of something the audience were receiving from them. Probably they were more open, they were smiling more, they were engaging more. Let's talk a bit about body language and some things you learned while you were on air.
I think the body language on air is different from the body language that you utilize in a live presentation. And again, that body language, even if you're on air, the extent to which you will move, the extent to which you will engage in gestures depends, I think, on the nature of the program. Because, for instance, the way and manner in which you will move, shake, maybe move your shoulders, etc., within an entertainment program is completely different from the kind of demeanor, the kind of disposition that you would display during a news bulletin, for instance. So I think people have to be aware of the nature of the program, and even if you want to push boundaries, know what the boundaries are for the type of program that you're involved in or that you're presenting.
I would be remiss to not mention the fact that being women in media, we definitely had to. I don't want to use the term endure, but that's the only term I can think of at this point. Attention, undue attention from the opposite sex, even from our own gender, our own peers, with regard how we dress, how we carry ourselves, how we speak, the amount of makeup we wear, for instance. Now, our male counterparts didn't have to go through this. They could put on the same suit, the same tie, the same white shirt 5 times a week, and probably nobody would notice. But being women, we're always being put in the spotlight for having to dress or dress the way we want to be addressed. I would love for you to share some of your experiences, and if there were, I'm not asking for anything too, negative or anything like that, but we're trying to be as real as possible. There's probably a young woman watching who's probably going through something, and she needs to understand how to deal with it when it comes to male counterparts in the media space.
Well, they say that goldfish have no hiding place. And it is very, very true when you are a female that has elected to be in front of the camera. I say elected because nobody is really forced to do it. It's something that you say you want to do. I think we have to understand that the difference between a doctor, a female doctor, for instance, and a female broadcaster is that the female broadcaster or the female presenter is in the eye of the public.
Okay.
More or less all the time. The female doctor gets to see the public, but she is not in the eye of the public in the same way as the female presenter is.
Okay.
Now, that is not to say that an attractive female doctor may not even attract certain comments from male patients. We don't know because we're not there. We don't know because nobody has said so. We don't know because it has not been generally broadcast. Okay. However, a female TV presenter is there for everybody to see. So what I think needs to be understood is that As the female doctor is a professional and is carrying out her profession, so is the female presenter, whether on radio, on TV, a podcaster, whatever. It is a profession that you have decided to pursue. And there are certain ethics, there are certain ways of behaving, there are certain standards that you're supposed to uphold. Now, if a male, whether a colleague or a viewer, decides to go beyond his bounds, I think it is for the female to make it very clear that she's not interested. I mean, it is a personal choice, and it is equally a personal decision. She's either interested or she's not. And if she's not, then there are certain things that she will say. Perhaps she could even get to the point where there are certain things that she would do, because sometimes people do come into the station. The security men allow different people to come into the station. You may not always know, or the security may not always know what those people have come into the station to do. So those who should have been kept at bay occasionally slip through security and come in. And then when eventually they come face to face with you, they say whatever it is they want to say. But at that point, the choice is yours. So if you're going to be professional, then there are certain things you would tell that person. And if they have some degree of self-respect, they will reverse, go back from whence they came.
I'm
we always have some people that that don't care and that are willing to push through those boundaries simply because that is their nature. But again, for the female, it's up to her. And depending on the kind of program that you're doing, there is, I think, also a certain way that you should dress. I'm not sure that I can say much more than that, but I think it is determined by the kind of person that you are, what you want, and what you don't want.
What we want is to be treated as professionals. What we want is for the information we're sharing, the presentation we're making to be taken seriously. In most cases, unless you're a comedian who doesn't want to be taken seriously. But in the end, there are windows where I've been in spaces. Let me put it this way: I've been in spaces where there were opportunities for presenters to make impact in a particular space or at a particular event, and male counterparts were selected for some, and then female was selected for others. But it was based on how they looked, how attractive they were, how much makeup they wore, how expensive their hair was. And it wasn't about the quality of the presentation they were about to make anymore. So I'm not sure where we're going in the industry presently, but I know you must have noticed this, that a lot of, in quote, pretty faces, with not as much depth as they should have to be going on screen, are being given these opportunities more than those who have been taught, trained, they have the skill, they have the depth, and a lot of people are even maybe sidelining being very deep and opinionated and professional for being attractive, and even going as far as doing body enhancements to get there. I have to ask about this, whether you think where you think this is going in the industry, and how you think our basic looks affect our presentation.
I think what I would say, there's a difference between a star and a shooting star. The shooting star shines very brightly. It's, it glitters, it catches everybody's attention, and then suddenly it fizzles out.
Wow.
I think that the depth that presenters bring to their work, I believe, is what will eventually stand the test of time. Yes, I can't deny the fact that there are some, extremely attractive young women on air. But sometimes when I listen, what I hear is I hear froth. I hear bubbles. I don't hear substance. And I say to myself, I wonder how long this will last. But again, it depends on the environment in which that particular, shall I use the term, shooting star finds herself. Because there are certain types of environments, there are certain types of programs that actually thrive on having those types of people. Because that is all, there's the program itself is bubbly. It's froth. Okay? It's not something that anybody is going to talk about tomorrow. It's for here and now. But then I think that is rather unfortunate if the shooting star wants to be a constant star. So again, it takes us back to the drawing board. Why is it that you want to be a presenter in the first place? What is your reason for becoming a presenter? Is it because you want to become a professional? Is it because you want to establish a name, a reputation, build a career? Or is it because you see this as an opportunity for your face to be known, for your name to be known, for your voice to be known, so that it becomes a stepping stone to something else? So broadcasting is just for you a stepping stone. It's just an opportunity to exploit. So there are people that fall into that category. And for them, well, the reputation, if you like, the career is not actually what they're after. They have a different trajectory. They have a different goal. They have a different why. For those whose why is career, professionalism, reputation, etc., then they are going to go about their job in a different way. They are going to be patient. So if, for instance, somebody says to them, an executive says to them, you know what, you're not bad, I think you could be a good presenter, but there's a problem with your teeth. Are you willing to go through whatever you have to go through to get your teeth looking right for the camera? These are the kind of things.
But now, what if it wasn't really about the teeth? What if it wasn't really about the looks? What if it was more about the general impression people have about female presenters? And when I say general impression, maybe a strong word using general, but sometimes they're just easy targets. They're low-hanging fruit. For low-hanging fruit, and again, I've heard comments myself, such as, is it not man you were looking for that you went on screen? Is it not a husband you were looking for that you went on screen? Didn't you put yourself out there so that we would see you and essentially marry you and take care of you? I've heard these kinds of things before, and no matter how much training or professional I got, how much I learned over the years, that still did seem like a lingering thought to many. And I feel like
And I
there's
feel like
probably
there's
some really
probably some
amazing
really
presenters
amazing
right now
presenters right
watching
now
or
watching
listening,
or listening,
and they're
and
wondering
they're
what to
wondering
do.
what to do
They're not being
next. They're
taken
not being
seriously.
taken seriously.
They don't
They
have
don't
the
have
expensive hair and
expensive hair and
the great
the great
outfits, but
outfits,
they have
but
the
they have the
substance.
substance.
So where do they go
So where do
from
they
there?
go from there?
What do you think they should
What
do?
do you think they should do?
I think they should
I think
keep
they should
working.
keep working.
I think they should
I
keep
think
establishing the fact that
that
they
they
are
are
excellent at their
excellent
job.
at their job.
And hoping,
Mm.
maybe. But then again, you see, did they become broadcasters because they were looking for a husband? Was that the driving force? Yes,
Go.
was that the goal, or was it because it was a profession that they fell in love with, a profession that they felt they had something to offer, a profession that they felt they could add value to? So if those are the kind of thoughts that are going through the minds of presenters, then honestly, let them do their job, let them do their work, let them prepare, let their programs be memorable. Let people say, oh, XYZ, I watched her program yesterday and it was fantastic. I love the way she brought in this idea. I love the way she brought in that perspective, because it is way beyond people seeing you on the street and waving and saying, oh, that is Titi. That is not enough. If people recognize you, and it is simply just recognizing you, for me, you have not delivered. If they recognize you and then they say, that comment that you made, that question that you asked, honestly, I was just waiting for somebody. I was hoping that you would ask that question. Thank you for asking that question. I got the answer that now Titi has made impact.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether Titi is pretty or not. It doesn't matter whether well, I mean, I happen to know that you are married and that
Yes,
and
of
you're a
course.
mother.
I wasn't
Yes,
using that as an example.
but the fact is that your work, I believe, will speak for you.
A big amen to that.
Amen to that. I have to add.
May our gift speak for us. And there's only one final area that I wanted to touch on before we wrap up, and that's how to know if our presentation has been a success. How do you know whether it's a 15-minute program, if it's a 30-minute program, if it's a 1-hour program? How do you know if this presentation has been successful? Those key things that you need to look out for, that you need to recognize that you've done your job.
I think the first way of knowing actually is the way you respond to what you've done. Because when I handle a program or I handle a presentation, I know when I've done well. And I know when I have not quite reached the standard that I would have wanted to reach. So I think you can be your first critic. You will know.
Sure.
Because apart from anything else, you will know if you prepared. You will know if you did your research. You will know if you rehearsed. You will know if you discussed with people. Because when you are engaging with others, if you have not rehearsed, if you haven't practiced, if you have not had a discussion with your producer or discussed with anybody else, some comments that people make, some answers that people give within the perimeter of your program, there are times when you will feel that there's a comment I should have made. There's a question I should have asked, but you didn't ask it because you didn't have the knowledge to ask it. And you won't have that knowledge if you don't prepare around your subject. So you are your first critic. Then when you come out of the studio, assuming that your program was recorded or even it went out live in the studio, from the expressions on people's faces, even the cameraman that presenters take for granted most of the time, the cameraman is a very, very good barometer, because he watches and sees so many things, so many programs. If a cameraman is, as you're talking, he's nodding, it's like he represents your one viewer, because we're talking to one viewer, not 5,000 or 5 million. So he represents your viewer. If he's nodding, and you can see from his stance and his body language, sometimes a director will tell a cameraman to give him a particular shot. He is engrossed in what is going on, and he may have to be reminded, oh boy, I said give me close up. What are you doing? Are you there to enjoy the program? So there are layers. There are layers of responses. And of course, when you're out and you meet people and they make reference to something that you said, comment that you made, or something about your program, all these are opportunities for you to know whether your program is successful or not. If it's a live event, it is easy to know, because you can see it from people's, you can see it from their body language, you can see it from their faces. They will come up to you, and want to engage you. So there are ways for you to know if your presentation has been successful.
So these days, so obviously from being in the studio and being on stage for so many years, you've given us the more physical responses, the cameraman, the director, the people around you. But these days online, it's still all about the likes and the clicks and the smiley faces, emojis, reactions. And I do feel like even experienced speakers get nervous waiting for those reactions.
Yes, but you can't live. You can't live for those reactions. You will destroy yourself if you are living for those reactions. You have to be satisfied that what you've done is worthy of a response, because there are a lot of people who will watch, who will enjoy it, but who, for whatever reason, may not, they may not make a comment.
Sure.
And you'll be there feeling bad, thinking that you haven't done a good job, just because somebody maybe was in the kitchen, they were cooking, and there was oil on their fingers, and they couldn't start pressing here and there, clicking here and there. That doesn't mean that they did not enjoy, that they did not learn, that they did not appreciate what you presented. So if your life depends on that, well, I don't know.
Ma'am, I have to say a very big thank you to you for taking our time to talk to me this evening. It's been enlightening. It's been really interesting to hear your perspective. I have to say thank you. Now I know you do have something coming up very soon. We'll be watching your Instagram page very, very closely. Just to get the Instagram page one more time, it's Speak with Bimbo. Speak with Bimbo is the Instagram page. I've been watching your videos and I've been loving them. Please, if you're watching right now, please head over to Speak with Bimbo on Instagram and make sure you follow and watch some of her videos. They're really insightful. But for those of you who are watching one-on-one with me for the first time, please make sure you check us out on YouTube. I'll be putting some of the links there on my Instagram page as well. Now, I hope you will take our time to talk to me sometime soon once again, ma'am.
Yes, I will. After the book has been launched, there may be some fallouts, some experiences. Yes,
sure.
I'll
so you're not going to let the cat out of the bag as to what dates the book is coming out yet? No information on that? Not yet?
I can tell you that. I don't know. Should I? Okay.
Should I?
Yes, 6th of June. That is when it's actually
Ooh,
going to be unveiled or presented. Let me put it that way. Yes, 6th of June.
fantastic, fantastic.
Yes.
Congratulations in advance on your
Thank
new
you very
book.
much.
I
Thank
can't
you.
wait to see it, can't wait to read it. And I know that hundreds of thousands of people are going to learn from this and learn from your
I really hope so.
experiences.
Thank you.
I know it's going to be I know it's going to be packed. Now, if you're just tuning in, thank you so much for joining us. The art of presentation was the conversation with the amazing veteran broadcaster Bimbo Oloyede. And if you don't know who this is, you're seeing her for the first time, I suggest you go to Google or go to her Instagram page and just take a gander, take a look. One of the reasons why we female presenters, TV presenters, have the opportunity is because of amazing women like herself who stood in the gap for us. And we appreciate you so much for doing so, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we hit 1 hour on this live, which is interesting. 1 hour ago we started this. We have to wrap it up now.
Yes.
Now I'm going to be definitely looking out for other people who would like to share and teach and educate anyone in the media space, in broadcasting space, such as Ms. Bimbo has also done with us today. Please reach out to us via DM. Just send us a DM or send me an email, dynamitepodcastnetwork@gmail.com. And we'll book you in and see when we can start the conversation. All right, ma'am. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Good night.
Good night. God bless. Thanks. And keep up the good work.
Oh, thank you so much. Wow. I'm going to start blushing now. Thank you so much. Have a great evening, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, then. So we're wrapping it up on the YouTube live stream as well. Thank you so much. And all the information you need will be right there in the comment section. Don't hesitate to reach out to us as soon as you can. All right, then. Bye-bye.